Hello everyone, Jacob Morgan here, still in Peru. I'm getting ready to catch a flight in a couple hours, but before I leave Lima, Peru, I wanted to do one more video. You can see the traffic probably starting to build up behind me. Lima is famous for its traffic, but I digress. I wanted to talk about some tips and ways of switching jobs. Now, I'm not talking about careers. I'm not talking about how to decide if you want to switch jobs. I'm talking about you've already decided you want to switch jobs. What are 3 tips or 3 things that you should be thinking about during that process of switching jobs? So I'm still here at the Westin, so you can see the little Westin Post-its here. There we go. First thing I want to talk about is why. There we go, get it out of the light there. The second thing that I want to talk about is developing skills. So develop and focus on your skills. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the importance of leaving on good terms. And again, I hope you can see these. I apologize if not. There we go. Leaving on good terms. So let's start off with the first one, which is why. This is a big one because I talk to a lot of employees. I even talk to some parents of employees, some college students. And oftentimes when they tell me they want to leave their job, I say, well, why do you want to leave? And I think there are some good reasons and there are some bad reasons to leave jobs. For me, a bad reason is, I'm not getting enough perks. I'm not getting enough free food. I'm not getting, I don't think that's a good enough reason to leave an organization. A good reason to leave an organization might be because you feel like you are stuck, because you feel like you and your manager are not able to get along well, and as much as you've tried to improve the situation, you just haven't been able to do anything. So those are kind of good reasons, and again, the bad reasons are the superficial things. Don't leave an organization because of something superficial. So first thing to understand is, why do you want to switch jobs? Is it because of career? Is it because of family or personal reasons? Is it because you're not getting along with your manager or your peers? Is it because you don't like the perks that you're getting? Try to understand what that rationale is and try to justify to yourself if it's worth switching because of that. Because as we all know, switching jobs takes a lot of time and a lot of effort going through the interview process. I mean, it's exhausting, right? We've all been there and it is exhausting. So first, again, understand, why is it that you want to switch those jobs? Or why is it that you want to switch that job? Is it something deep or is it something superficial? Don't leave for a superficial reason. One of the things that you can also do, and my dad used to tell me this all the time, take a piece of paper, fold it in half. On the left side of the page, write all the pros. On the right side of the page, write all of the cons. And it might sound weird of like, am I really gonna do this? Yes, actually list out all of the pros and cons of switching jobs, and you will be very surprised by the things that you start to come up with when you actually visualize them and put them down on paper. So step 1, before you switch jobs, really try to understand why. I would also recommend having some conversations with family members, peers, right? Get some different perspectives on that and understand if it's really worth doing. The second thing that I want to encourage you to think about is to develop and focus on skills. One of the things that I keep hearing about from executives at organizations around the world is that the number one thing that they are prioritizing is focusing on skills. So if you decide you're going to leave your organization and move on elsewhere, make sure that you are able to build up some sort of a skill portfolio for yourself. You want to be able to show that you've learned new things, that you've been able to apply things that you've learned and carry those things with you. The job titles and the type of work that you're doing is starting to become, I mean, it's still important, but what's more important, I believe, in the eyes of a lot of these executives are the skills that you have, the skills that you're bringing to the table versus just a job title that you might have. So build up those skills. If your current company has training programs that you can take advantage of, do it. If the program has beta programs that you can participate in, new technologies that you can learn, do it. Absorb and take in as much of that information as you can while you are in the process of wanting to go elsewhere. Because again, it's important to build up these skills for yourself, the skills portfolio. The last thing, and I know this is probably more a little bit on the the political side of work, is you want to leave on good terms. As much as I hate to say it, references and resumes, a lot of these things are still being used in the corporate world. They just are. I mean, that's just the reality of the world that we live in. But people are still calling your references. People are still having those conversations. And so it is important to make sure that you leave an organization on good terms. Even if it's been a very tense relationship and a kind of a tense time with your manager and with your peers, suck it up and try to make it right, all right? I mean, do whatever you need to do, but you want to make sure that you leave an organization on good terms. I haven't always left organizations on good terms in my past, 15 plus years ago. And it came back to hurt me because it makes it that much harder to find another job in the future. So do whatever you can, understand that you want to leave on good terms. If you're at an organization and you're not happy, you don't need to all of a sudden, start screaming at people, start throwing stuff and making everyone hate you. You don't need to do that. You decided you want to leave, that's fine. You can still treat people well inside of your organization while you're kind of checking out and going elsewhere. So those are the three things, again, really simple that I wanted to talk about. Again, step one, or the first tip, is really understanding why you want to leave the organization and if it's worth doing so. The second is developing those skills and focusing on those skills. And the third is making sure you leave on good terms. One other thing I wanted to talk about before I end the video is this idea of job hopping. There are a lot of people who believe that you should stay inside of an organization for 1 year or for 2 years or for however many years the common word of wisdom is that you should be a part of an organization. When I was in the corporate world, people used to tell me that all the time. Oh, you got to stay there for 2 years or 3 years, or people are gonna think that you're a job hopper and you're not serious. That's true to a point, right? I mean, if you are a part of an organization and you genuinely feel, and this has happened to family members, this has happened to friends of mine, where they are genuinely a part of an organization where it feels like it's a little bit abusive. You have managers that are yelling at you, that are screaming at you, that are constantly putting you down. You're coming home from work crying all the time. If you're in that kind of a toxic relationship, I completely believe that you should quit. Completely believe you should quit. Life is too short. You shouldn't be coming home from work crying and upset every single day. It does not make any sense. However, if this is a constant thing where you have a job history, a career history that's filled with positions that are 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, then all of a sudden I start to wonder a little bit as well. Because it doesn't necessarily just mean that you are a job hopper, but perhaps it also reflects a little bit on the type of judgment that you might have. What does that say about you if you're constantly picking organizations that are not a good fit? And again, this is something that a lot of executives pay attention to as well. A couple of those types of jobs here and there that are short-term, it's fine. We've all had them. But if your entire resume, your entire career history is just filled with these kind of like short-term tenure positions, then all of a sudden you might want to take a step back and rethink why is that happening. Because truth be told, things are changing so quickly around the world of work that you actually need to be a part of an organization for a little bit to absorb the culture, learn new skills, kind of adapt, evolve, all those sorts of things. So again, I do believe that you should leave your organization if you're being treated unfairly, if you're being mistreated. But again, you don't want to make this a habit because then you need to take a step back and ask yourself, what does that say about my judgment of constantly picking these organizations? It's sort of like being in a relationship with somebody, right? If you're constantly in a relationship with somebody who's abusive and is not treating you well, your friends all of a sudden are going to be like, why do you keep picking the jerks? And so you don't want to be known as the person who keeps picking the jerks, because then you need to, again, do a little bit of self-reflection and understand, why is that happening? What is it that is drawing you to those types of organizations? Again, a little bit of a tangent there at the end, but again, I do believe that you should leave your organization if you're being mistreated or not treated fairly. Life's too short. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got a couple pieces of insight, some tidbits here. If you have any comments, suggestions, or your own tips that you want to add, I encourage you to leave a comment at the bottom of the YouTube video. And of course, I always appreciate it when people subscribe. So please go ahead and do that. And I will see you in another video. Goodbye from Lima, Peru.